The biggest compliment that a student can ever give me is to say that I motivated them or inspired them to study more, to learn more. That's the main reason I created this YouTube channel, to inspire a larger audience to learn more English, read more books, learn how to write better, how to communicate better, how to think better. But what is this motivation or inspiration, and how do you maintain it? How do you strengthen it? I too have sometimes situations where I feel undermotivated, when I feel that I don't want to work more or push boundaries more. Even if I would do the same thing again and again, I don't feel like I want to take the next step. So in order to try to get over this hurdle, I watch a lot of motivation videos and I read books that deal with motivation, and I learned a lot from them. And there are many people that have grasped this concept of motivation well and handled it well, and have been an inspiration for many others. If I had to focus on one element of motivation that I think is the most important today, given the state of technology and the state of tasks that we face, especially after the AI revolution, I would say that the motivation that I use is motivation that comes from a feeling of doing one more set at the gym. Let me explain. I wasn't always doing powerlifting. For years I was doing running. And I used to run 12 kilometers a day, every single day, summer, winter, every day I would do that. And then the motivation that is needed is of a particular kind. It's very difficult to get yourself to the fields when I did it in nature. And then once you start to do it, it's just a matter of a habit of continuing to run, even though it's getting usually increasingly difficult. Now that I'm doing powerlifting, the key motivation that is needed is getting ready for the next set. And I've been doing it for many, many years. And I think that the type of motivation that you, my audience, needs to succeed today is closer to the motivation of a powerlifting, mentally preparing and starting the next set. That's also the reason why I started this YouTube channel with a video, Start Working Now, that shows and demonstrates also with deadlift how you get ready for a new set. So that's what we're going to speak about today. My take on motivation, specifically designed for people who wants to study, write and succeed at our age when the AI is getting stronger and stronger. And there will be some references to bodybuilding as well, as always. My name is Shai Dotan. I'm Associate Professor of International Public Law at the University of Copenhagen Faculty of Law. And the purpose of this series of lectures is to help you improve your English. I want to start by touching on a debate that you will see on numerous YouTube clips. There are millions of them. What is more important, motivation or discipline? So motivation is getting yourself ready to engage in something difficult by getting yourself excited, inspired, in the mood. Discipline is having a set of habits that allows you to do what you need to do even if you don't feel like doing it. Or as Mike Tyson said it very, very clearly, you have to do what you hate to do, but to do it as if you love it. Do what you hate to do, but do it as if you love it. So with all the motivation, the passion comes later when you impose your will during using the discipline. And I think that discipline is very, very important. And there are certain things that you can do to improve your discipline. One of the most important ones is being very fit. I think it's practically impossible to maintain a very, very high discipline in work, in creative work, while being not physically fit at all. There are some people who maintain that, usually at a very high cost to their health. And I think that even for people that have much less of a talent or the intelligence of these unique individuals that manage to be fat and completely soft and not training, just by being very intelligent, they can force themselves to do creative things. People with much less talent and just a little bit more discipline that force themselves to train 2 or 3 times a week, very intensive trainings, they can acquire this discipline and translate it into their work. There are other techniques that you can apply to acquire discipline. Also, and I'm not an expert on that. I mean, I want to focus on one particular kind of discipline, one that is required to just start a set. And I want to try to describe to you what goes in my mind when I do that. But I also want to leave room for motivation as well. So if a discipline is basically making you into a creature of habit, and one of the best authors that describe the power of habits is James Clear in his book Atomic Habits, when he describes basically how much of a habit creature we are and how we can learn from it. And there are others that wrote similar books and similar ideas, how you can rearrange your life by making micro changes. A lot of self-help tradition that goes back to people like Brian Tracy, that has still a very useful videos, and others. That's a tradition that speaks about building the proper habits, and these habits build discipline, and then everything goes easier. There's also a lot of people that are motivational in nature. So if you listen, to example, to some of the thousands of clips of David Goggins, he's a former Navy SEALs and with a rich military career, completed all the most arduous tests in the Army and the Navy, and later became an ultramarathon runner. And the nice thing about it is that he's very articulate about what goes on in his mind, how he convinces himself to act. And he has things like, he would say, I convince myself to succeed by thinking, what if I managed to do that? To be one of the very few African Americans that made it to Navy SEALs, to succeed in this race and so on. He manages to basically make his exercise into primarily a work of the mind, a work that basically challenges his mind and makes him build his own source of motivation. Another very successful motivator is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who has very nice clips there, and there are numerous others. Some of them go with a very powerful music. It's something proven in research that music can actually help people get more motivated also in the gym. Some of them with visual things that will boost your energy if you are into videos of boxing fights, UFC fights, all kinds of physical challenges. All these things I think are great. So you can speak about the discipline part, which is habits and everything that goes on with it. Very regulated, very based on rules and compliance to these rules. And then there's the spirit part that goes with inspiration. And there are also books that do that, but I think that using the videos is a great idea. Also because you can just, if your spirits fall as you're working, you can open YouTube, watch for 3 minutes and go straight back to work. Now, I believe that both of these elements are important. I won't say that only discipline is important, or only motivation is important. For the long term, discipline is more important because discipline can generate motivation. It can get you into the habit and then you will motivate yourself. It's also easier to build motivation. You just need to listen to music or watch some of these exciting videos and you build it very quickly. Discipline can stay with you and you build it for many years. So that's why it's maybe more important, but both are very useful. But what I want to do is I want to try to explain to you what goes in my mind before I do another set at the gym. So the first thing is I do only two trainings a week, and these are long and intensive training of 2 hours or 2.5 hours each. And this means that if I would start the gym by going to the gym, by rehearsing in my mind everything that is going to go there, I will never get out of it. It just going through the exercise in my mind would take me quite a few minutes. It would make me very tired. So I always tell myself, to focus on the next set. Focus on the next set. And some of the sets are very easy because I'm over 40 and I need to get my body, who is usually quite stiff, to be flexible enough and ready. So I do a very long warm-up. And that's also something that slowly, as the body is warming, also the motivation is rising. And that's one of the things that I recommend to anybody. By the way, it's not limited only to the gym. You get yourself ready. Understand that you cannot just jump from sleeping to full-scale work. You have to get yourself ready, and that's what you do at the gym. And the best way to do it within a limited amount of time, in a way that prevents injuries, is to have a very, very well-regulated protocol that you follow. So you get yourself ready. And then comes the challenging part. The set when I have to do 180 kilograms 5 times on the deadlift, or I need to do 10 times 120 kilograms on a squat. And here comes the part where discipline and motivation work together, where I am telling to, I do this set after I've done the warm-up in a very, very particular way. I get my body in a very particular position. I wear the same clothes, which are completely torn apart already after years of training. I have to change once, but for now I still use them. So every millimeter of my body is regulated, but at the same time there are things racing in my head. And I tell to myself things like, you've done this exercise since August every time without a failure. You might should do it again. You do this one set and then it's done in half a minute and then you'll be the happiest man in Denmark. These are the kind of things that go in my head, and I would say it again, because the breaks between the powerlifting sets are sometimes quite long. I mean, the full break can be even 10 minutes. It's usually much less than that because I need to arrange the weights, etc. But 5 or 10 minutes, I would go and I would just go with these things in my head. And then I see the people around me at the gym, and they're all wearing their headphones and looking at their phones, listening to who knows what, getting flooded by information. That's exactly the point that I want you to silence. Okay? Because you need to get ready. You need to get ready to use your full force in a second, in a very, very particular way. That's exactly the moment that I take away from the gym, when I tell to myself in numerous different ways, just one more set. Just one more set. And then, as I said, there's a whole protocol. And I would walk around, which is relaxing for me, and stretch myself in a variety of ways. And I would get to that point. Okay, so that's the point that I want to speak about. This just one set, get yourself ready in a very, very disciplined way, but also with motivation that you build and you get yourself ready to act. And now to the most important part. Why am I sharing this allegory of powerlifting and comparing it to running? Let me explain. In the past, when you had to study a subject, write a paper, do a project, the most important part was a very, very long and disciplined session of uninterrupted studying. Now, when I can think of a funny example that my grandma told me, that when she studied Russian as a child, she took War and Peace. I think it was a Serbian version or Hungarian version. I'm not sure which one was the original one she used, because she had five maternal languages as a child. She wanted to also study Russian. Fine, you take War and Peace in Hungarian and War and Peace in Russian, and you start to read both and you compare, and eventually you study. So obviously, if you want to do this, you need to just sit down for 10, 12 hours a day without any movement and just using your discipline to study. And when I studied law, it was not that different, to tell the truth. You get a syllabus, you have to start reading judgments. Hundreds of judgments, thousands of judgments, sometimes they are hundreds of words long. And then you just do that for years. And once you've done it, you acquired some skill as a lawyer. But the difference is that we didn't have Google, so you couldn't access any judgment that you want in a second. We didn't have ChatGPT, so you couldn't produce a perfect paragraph in a second. I'm just saying that it seems so foreign to me. It seems impossible. I don't believe it myself. And I use ChatGPT almost every day. Try it out. I'm not using it for my work. I'm just trying it out to get more and more scared, and it's getting better over time. And now I try to realize that the skills that you need to succeed are very, very different. So if the skill that you need to succeed as a law student and as a writer of a dissertation in law was open the paper, read it very carefully, cover to cover. Sometimes it took me days to cover a paper, but a 150 page long paper. I used to read it very, very slowly. I would read a book in a week and a half. And I would just do that. I would not do anything else. I would sit down. I would make sometimes some notes in handwriting or even on a computer. But that was it. And now these skills are not useful anymore. I want to qualify that. I think that it's still useful to acquire some of this stamina to read for a long time, to write for a long time. We don't know exactly where the future will take us. And maybe some of these skills will be very, very useful also later on. But now with Google taking care of all the searching and Google Scholar taking care of academic searching and ChatGPT is trying to take care of writing and Grammarly taking care of editing, this will not make you excel if you do that. So if you're able to sit for these 12 hours a day and write great stuff, that's really good, and it will probably make you able, if you work very, very hard and you are good with human skills, to secure some work, a job eventually. But will it make you fulfill your potential? Will it make you one of the best in the world? I don't think so. It is a skill that could have made that just a few years ago. Somebody that was very, very hard working and also a little bit intelligent, but mostly diligent, could do very well. But now we are not there. We are not there. We live in a world in which this ability to start something new, break patterns, try something different is going to be the key. And the difference between me today and me 2 months ago is the difference between asking ChatGPT, how do you put a video on YouTube, learning that in half an hour, doing the first video, which took me maybe an hour, and that was it. And then afterwards I can do as many videos as I want. And that's of course just one allegory. So try to think about yourself doing the same, learning how to use these different tools. The mindset of a powerlifter trains you for that. That's not the mindset of a runner. The mindset of a powerlifter trains you for, I don't know what's going to happen when I lift this weight. Maybe it will be pain in places that I didn't even know existed. Maybe it will even be an injury. I try to minimize the chance, but I'm always aware there's always a potential for an injury. And an injury can be something that passes in a second. Like the first time I tried to bench press 100 kilograms and the weight almost fell on me, and when it stretched my back, when I stretch, pass in a second, it will be something that is with you for years. So all this is going on in your head. I want you to recreate this mindset when you handle a new challenge. You write an email to a colleague trying to do a different venture. You apply for a grant. you apply for a period abroad, you start a book, you start a paper, you send a paper to somebody to try to get the comments, you use ChatGPT to do things that you were not able to do before. You start to study a language using Duolingo or any other application. All these things require this just one set mentality that says, I'm going to go through this discomfort, this fear of the unknown before I'm going to start. And I want to tell you, I see it a lot with my kids. Many times I would be talking to them and we would start to argue about something, and they would just tell me, Google it. They have been used to me Googling things for them to check for them since they were babies, almost toddlers at least. And I sometimes there's something in voice in me resisting. Why Google it? I mean, I could struggle against it. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's just a dumb question. But the answer is, why not? Why not? The same thing goes with ChatGPT. Sometimes it takes a week for me before I think about what I want to try next, what I want to challenge it next. And I always think, I'm so stupid. I should just try out and see how it goes. And see what response I get. So that is the message that I want to convey in this video. Think like a powerlifter. Get ready for the next set. Get your discipline. Get your motivation so you can do the next thing, the next challenge, because with the proper technology and with a proper network, this can multiply into a benefit that is 1,000,000 times bigger than you can even imagine. Something that you will not get from doing an extra hour of work in the same old kind that you did before. Okay? All right, so that's all for me for today. Shai Dotan. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd be very happy if you would like on the video or comment on it or share me your views about it. And of course, if you subscribe to my channel. And until next time, keep learning.